Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Atif Khan. I'm co-founder and the CTO of Alkira. I'm joined today by John Burke. John is CTO of Nemertes. Nemertes is a research-based advisory and consulting firm. Today, in this webinar, John will be presenting key findings from Nemertes' Alkira Real Economic Value Report. And this report is based on interviews with many of our enterprise customers, many of Alkira's enterprise customers. And this report uncovers the ways Alkira delivers value to customers. Now I would invite John to share his expertise and present the key insights from the Alkira Real Economic Value Report. John, it's all yours.
Thanks so much, Atif, and thanks for the chance to get up in front of people and talk about this. It was a lot of fun to do the project, and it's a lot of fun to share the results with folks too. So I'll give a little more introduction to Nemertes before I dive into the details of the study, how we did what we did, and then we'll dig into the results of the research and talk about why people adopt Alkira and what they adopt it for, and then the benefits that they have derived from doing so. We'll dive a little deeper into three of the use cases, three of the customers that we interviewed, and then we will wrap it up with some conclusions and a Q&A session. Now, we're going to definitely take questions and answers at the end, but I want to encourage folks to ask questions whenever they occur to you. Don't wait till the end, because you might have different questions by then and they'll all get jammed up. No, ask them as soon as you think of them. Throw them up in the questions panel in the webinar app, and we'll either answer them pretty quickly after you ask them or queue them up to answer at the end of the session. So as Atif said, Nemertes is a research and advisory firm, and we have been focused since we were founded in 2002 on the idea and the mission of identifying and quantifying the benefits that an organization gets by deploying emerging technologies. And in this case, the emerging technology that we're talking about is cloud-based network as a service or network infrastructure as a service, what Alkira provides. So they wanted us to quantify, find the numbers behind the benefits and the use cases that their customers were living through. So we got together with them in May of last year and formulated hypotheses about the ways in which value would be derived by deploying Alkira, crafted questions that would help us get to the data that we needed when interviewing some of their customers for this, and then starting in June, interviewed over a dozen of their customers, asked them a lot of really detailed questions about what they were already doing, what they intended to do, and asked a lot of open-ended questions because, as inevitably happens in these projects, we learned about other use cases through the course of the research, circled back and asked folks about those, and collected metrics and some spicy little quotes from time to time about deploying Alkira. Now, the participants that we interviewed, we used data from 13 of them, came from a range of industries, 9 verticals overall. We spoke mostly, just barely mostly, over half the time with network architects in those companies. The rest of the time it was the director of networking or the director of security and networking, or the person in charge of global networks. The size range for the companies involved, spanned mid-sized enterprise all the way up to very large global enterprises. The median employee count, so half above, half below, was 6,600. The median annual revenue, $3.5 billion. And what we saw across company sizes, across company verticals, was a very similar set of drivers for the adoption of Alkira's technology, grouping up nicely as drivers based on complexity. Organizations have been adding more cloud environments, more specific VPCs or the equivalent in the clouds that they're in, and have been adding more clouds, going from 2 cloud vendors to 3 or 1 cloud vendor to 2. Also, in the pursuit of better performance for folks who are spread out around the world, in the pursuit of better reliability, have been expanding their operations into multiple regions with all of their clouds when they can manage it. And they have been working with more partners in cloud environments. So that could be customers, it could be suppliers, it could be it could be their own corporate divisions where they've been previously very separate from each other. Now, tied into all that complexity that organizations had been wrestling with, increased risks, operational risks. With complexity comes a new set of opportunities for misconfigurations or configuration sprawl or variances from standard configurations, all of which can introduce problems keeping systems performing as needed or expected, all of which can lead to unplanned downtime or unplanned brownouts where performance is just so bad that it might as well not be there, but it's still there. Along with that complexity and the operational risks comes cybersecurity risks. Most major cybersecurity incidents come as a result of somebody failing to do something that was on their checklist of configurations, missing an environment that they shouldn't have missed, and accompanying both of those, financial risks. Downtime equals revenue not earned, downtime equals decreased productivity for staff, downtime due to cybersecurity incidents can also result in payouts to people who were affected and fines and penalties from organizations, from governments. So those are the things that were driving people to adopt Alkira's solutions. And Atif, why don't you give us a deeper overview of what Alkira delivers to these folks, and that'll give us better context for the rest of the discussion.
Thanks, John. You summarized it very well. And as you said, like in today's day and age, the requirements from network are not just as simple as connecting, sites to data centers or sites to sites as it used to be. Now you have multiple people. Our customers are adopting multiple clouds. Even if they are in single cloud, they are in multiple regions because there are so many different requirements to be in different regions. They have users all across the world. So what Alkira does is we provide network infrastructure as a service, which is globally available. And all of our customers can now leverage this infrastructure, which is available to them on demand, to build networks globally. And they can connect any site to any cloud to any cloud, any cloud region to any cloud. We also go deep inside the cloud and do a lot inside the cloud from a networking perspective. And as you know, again, going back to today's day and age, it's not networking is not just about connecting, let's say a site or point A to point B. You have to make sure that it's all secure as well. So there has to be integrated security built into this environment. So we provide that as well. And we can provide more details, and our viewers can find more details on our website and ask for more collateral. But in general, high level, it's a networking platform which is globally available. It's on demand. Customers are using it to build networks on demand across the globe. It's fully secure. And there are many different use cases which people are solving or which people are using our platform for. Cloud being the primary use case, but there are so many other use cases, and we'll touch upon those use cases as you go along, because I know that many customers are using it for different reasons, and you have many nice slides which will give our viewers a lot of information.
And indeed, that it was that discussion of use cases that really organized the research for us and organized those conversations with customers. And as you say, the core use case for just about everybody is enabling and managing connectivity in hybrid cloud environments. So connecting regions, connecting clouds to each other, connecting clouds to data centers, all of the and connecting sites to clouds and data centers. All of these things are at the core of most people's adoption of Alkira, but some of them have other things in mind at the same time or discover other use cases as they go along. They find that Alkira gives them a strong ability to consolidate network and security stacks that are involved in this interconnectivity, gives them a strong platform for streamlining security operations, always something that's desirable when security staff are so hard to find. Facilitating mergers and the creation of extranets for those partners, those customers, those suppliers. Another thing that some folks, walked in intending to do, other folks discovered as they went along. And lastly, and this is one that I think in general was discovered as they went along, speeding up their ability to fold new data centers into their service environment. And we'll walk through each one of these in turn. So I think something that Atif underplayed a little bit in discussing his own technology is that it makes the network interface that network engineers and cloud network managers deal with uh, essentially identical no matter which cloud environment they're working in. If they want to get a workload tied into the environment in Azure, it looks the same from a network perspective as doing it in AWS, as doing it in Google Cloud, etc. And it's that simplification that is at the root of many of the other benefits. Uh, it significantly eases adding regions, adding environments, adding providers. 63% of the folks that we interviewed for this had added cloud environments as a result of that simplification. It just made it that much easier for them to do. 58% added cloud regions to their environments as it became easy to do and replicable. And 25% added cloud providers. They went from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And uh, it is so straightforward and so revolutionary for several of them that they said basically what this network director at the large medical manufacturer quoted on screen here said, that Alkira is their new solution to instantiating in the cloud, and they are the backbone of the cloud network for them.
Yeah, John, some of these quotes that you're going to share today, these are very humbling to us. And as you said, like, you know, uh, everything becomes so simple with Alkira. And this was our design goal when we started this company, to make networking simple. And in the past, like in the name of simplifying, we turned networking more and more complicated by you've seen like the more features people have added in their solutions, the more complex networking kept getting. So simplifying it was our goal, as you said, like across different clouds, across on-prem. It's one way of doing networking. It's one platform, and now our customers, as you said, like they can onboard like a cloud within minutes to within a few days. And I only say within a few days because that's like it's still a network deployment. You still have to deploy networks and you have to design it, but from the infrastructure perspective, it's minutes. And this is like something which people have never seen before. And so many of our customers have come and said that this is pretty much magic for them. They don't have to go and understand like a different cloud. If you have to onboard a cloud, it's so agile and so quick. So I think these numbers are awesome to see.
And it's great too. Just thinking about the tenor of the moment in IT generally, you guys did all this without having to layer on a large language model AI to make it all happen. You didn't hide the complexity just by layering another brain on top of it. You actually designed the complexity out, which is a great starting point. Now, that same simplification of working with networks in different cloud environments in addition to just making it easier, as a result of making it easier, makes it a lot faster. And when I say a lot faster, I mean every single person that we interviewed for this saw that it took significantly fewer calendar days for them to add a new cloud environment to their overall portfolio, and that the average number of days decreased by 96% from almost a month to about a day. And that is a dramatic and, in some cases, sort of life-changing kind of speed up for folks who are in the network design and network engineering end of operations in enterprises.
Yeah,
And
this is these John. This is a huge decrease in time for our customers, and these are the reasons why like customers when they start deploying Alkira in a certain region, they expand very quickly and they start like deploying it globally. So these are the numbers which I think our viewers would want to find more about, and there's a lot of information which we can provide them.
absolutely. That kind of agility that comes with being able to do these things so much faster can translate into increased business. You know, if you're waiting for the infrastructure to come online before you can start selling the service that it's providing, the sooner you get it on, the faster you're getting revenue instead of eating revenue. So I think that level of agility that's promoted is one that's well worth keeping in mind for folks who are offering services to their customers out of the cloud. Um, and for them and for everybody else, that same simplification of the environment saves not just calendar time, but also staff time. And again, everybody said that their staff were able to spend significantly less time hands on keyboard getting new cloud environments networked into their overall environment. And on average, the number of staff minutes needed decreased by 84%. So down to 6, 7 hours from I can't even tell you how many hours 2,400 minutes is, but it's a lot. um, and similarly, many of them were running up against the human resource limitations of cloud network management. They either were unable to do as much as they needed to because they did not have the skilled hands available, or they were on the verge of hiring a bunch of new staff to handle the expansions in cloud use and in the number of cloud providers that they had planned. So 83% of the folks that we spoke to saw a decrease in the number of FTEs that were needed to manage cloud networks. The rest had one and were able to stay at one, even though they had expansions under their belt as soon as they got Alkira fully internal. So they were among the folks who avoided new hires. Nearly 2/3 avoided hiring more staff, and on average, the number of new staff they avoided hiring was 4.8. And that's because so many of these organizations were looking at hiring experts in Azure networking, plural, so at least one and usually two were on the books as hires they were already authorized to make before they got Alkira and figured out it wasn't necessary. And then two experts for AWS and two experts for Google. Really a profound kind of optimization on that front as well. And again, all stemming from that simplification of the environment. Now, that human level of simplification is echoed in the simplification of the technology environment as well. At least from the perspective of the consuming enterprise, it gets a lot easier because, of course, they can pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, so to speak. Uh, your infrastructure can be insanely complicated in your cloud exchange points, Atif, but these folks can simplify things dramatically. And 60% said that the network stacks they were using to connect two networks from their on-premises locations shrank, and the average device count came down by 43%. And this medical manufacturer had, I think, the most eye-opening take on that. Certainly his numbers, or her numbers actually, were not were not unique, but they were, I think, the best quantified. Pre-Alkira, their typical stack was $1.5 to $2 million worth of routers, switches, and firewalls, and anywhere from uh, 16 to 18 devices in the typical stack. And after Alkira was deployed, that went down to two routers per cloud. And that is a magnificent statement of the kinds of simplifications that Alkira can bring on the sort of physical side, on the hardware side.
Yeah, this is the power of network infrastructure as service, John, because now people can use the infrastructure which we are providing, and they don't have to go and deploy their own routers and switches and firewalls. That's they just, in many cases, when it comes to like services such as like firewalls and stuff, they sometimes only need to bring their license, and we provide the infrastructure, we manage the infrastructure. And now with this network infrastructure as a service, they don't have to worry about, the upgrades of the infrastructure and whatnot. If they deploy when they deploy like routers and switches, their own infrastructure, and it's a global infrastructure, and even when they deploy like software appliances in the cloud or wherever, just to upgrade those, just to go through the upgrade cycle every few months and stuff, that's a monumental task. And now this is like more like a SaaS type of service. Like customers need like a feature, we do the upgrades in the background. It's our infrastructure, and it just appears. And these are all hitless upgrades, no downtime for the customers. So it's amazing for the customers. And also like when it comes to like firewalls and stuff, so many of our customers have come back and said that they have been able to decrease like the number of firewalls which they had been deploying. And I'll go into more details a little bit later in the slides. But in general, this is because like how we deploy the firewalls. Now you can consolidate these services inside of our cloud exchange points. And instead of deploying like a pair of firewalls for every cloud or for every use case, uh, you can have like a set of firewalls which is providing a consolidated deployment for all those use cases. So as you said, customers are seeing like real value here by decreasing the number of hardware nodes or software nodes that they have to manage on their own.
And just lending the detail to that statement on firewalls, 3/4 of the folks we spoke to said that they were now using fewer firewalls for connecting into their cloud infrastructures, and that on average, the number of firewalls they needed was down by nearly 3/4, 73%. And our illustrative quote from the software developer, going from 10 firewall pairs down to 4, with substantially lower licensing costs because of capacity and other factors in the licensing they were doing. I'll also throw in, because I don't think you mentioned it, another big piece of overhead for folks on these network stacks and security stacks is security patching. And aside from functional upgrades every few months, security patching, often on a monthly basis or even a weekly basis for some of the device manufacturers, that is an amount of work that is not to be sneezed at. And it is such crucial work these days when you look at things like what happened with Salt Typhoon, where old known vulnerabilities in a particular network vendor's equipment were used to compromise telecoms infrastructures. Not 0 days, not things people hadn't had a chance to fix yet, stuff for which patches had been out for months or in some cases years. So it's good to keep in mind that when somebody else is doing the security patching for you, not only is it less work for you, but it's usually better outcomes for you because your security is more up to date.
Yeah, exactly. And coming back to like the savings from the number of these firewalls that you deploy, I'll just give you an example. One of our very large customers, global customers, they have deployed us in 12 different regions. They're in 4 different clouds, and before they were and in many different regions. So in every region for every cloud, they were using a pair of firewalls. And so imagine like four clouds let's say in a given region, and there are two firewalls per cloud that they were using. And then from there, they went to just two firewalls inside of our Cloud Exchange point, which you can also think of it as a virtual POP. So that's a huge savings for them from that perspective. And it's not just them. There are so many other customers, as you have talked to many of those, which were able to realize this value. And at the end of the day, it's total cost of ownership. It boils down to TCO, and people are able to save a lot from that perspective.
Absolutely. And let me see. That translates often into streamlined security operations as well. Another thing that we asked about. Everybody saw a decrease in the amount of staff time needed to add security services on their cloud networking. Adding new firewall rules, adding new segmentation, things like that. And on average, that decrease was 80%. Similarly, decreases in calendar time to get new security deployed in production. Everybody, again, saw dramatic decreases there, and the average decrease was 93% reduction in time. So bringing not just business agility, but secure business agility, definitely one of the strong use cases folks were realizing as they went. They didn't know going in how much of an improvement it was going to be on this score, but once they saw, they leaned in hard. And I'm going to just take a moment and echo what you're seeing in the chat right now, which is if you have questions, please use the questions panel to submit them, because as I say, we'll probably answer them close to when you ask them, but if we don't, we'll certainly ask them when we circle around to questions at the end of the session. So many organizations in different verticals work a lot with outside organizations. Again, suppliers, partners, customers at one level, and companies that they're either acquiring or that are acquiring them at another level. And so that ability to use the cloud exchange points as a way of linking one company's network to another company's network, whether or not they're using Alkira, more quickly, more consistently, more securely, and way more easily is a benefit that a lot of companies get benefit from. And we saw that 67% of the folks we spoke to said that they were seeing it taking less time for them to uh, spin up extranet connections for a partner. And that applied to the staff hours. 88% saw a decrease in the number of calendar days, and the decreases in both cases were better than 90% reductions in the time needed. So a really huge improvement in the situation of connecting up with other folks in the course of working in cloud and multi-cloud environments.
So, John, this is a big use case that we are seeing in many large enterprises, especially the financials. So
Mhm.
most of these financials have like hundreds or thousands of partners that connect to their network. So mainly it's the partners connecting to, let's say, a financial institution's network, and they need to access select resources from there. So the way they used to do it before was in some cases partners would come over VPN tunnels into their network or private connectivity into their network. They would land in their data centers. They would front end with a firewall, and then they would do all this route leaking and all the access controls and stuff in their data center to make sure that the partner is only able to access what it needs to access. And if they had to do like network address translation, they would do that also. All that is so complicated, time consuming. And with this as a service model, we have seen like so many of our customers are adopting it on a very wide scale, and now they can do all this stuff in like minutes. So all these customers, as you're showing over here, they're able to onboard a partner like in minutes or a very short amount of time versus what it used to take such a huge effort before. So this has become like a very big use case for us, and we are seeing that this was an actual like a pain point for our large customers, which we are solving.
Absolutely. And we did hear it multiple times. One of the case studies we're going to dive into leans hard onto the extranet piece, and it'll be nice to dig in a little bit more on how for them. Uh, Last use case that we uh, explored, and it was one that came up in the course of interviewing, was adding new data centers to the environment. We were very focused on cloud environments going into the research, but of course, interconnecting data centers with clouds is still the name of the game for most companies. And so when somebody said to us, that they were able to deploy a new data center in a new geography in absolutely blistering speeds, uh, far faster, months faster than they expected to. We really sat up and took notice, and we asked other folks about it. We didn't ask everybody about it, but everybody that we asked who had done this since they'd gotten Alkira in said yes, it definitely speeded up the process, and the average number of days to get a new data center online from a network perspective decreased from nearly 200 days to about 2 weeks. And that kind of a speed up is something to make anybody sit up and take notice if they still run data centers, and almost all the large companies do, and most of the mid-sized ones do as well. So there we are. And if, like most companies that operate internationally, you're looking at the prospect of spinning up new data centers to deal with data sovereignty issues, and the number of data sovereignty domains is still increasing out there. This is the kind of thing that will make a big difference in your life in the future. So from here, I think we go into, yep, the case studies, and we have still enough time left for this and for questions. Good. So people ask questions. Uh, the first case study, where we're showing all the benefits that they realized, or just about all, is a large healthcare provider operating across a large number of states in the United States, and I think somewhat internationally, and delivering services out of the cloud to their customers. They are very technologically aggressive. They had gotten into cloud fairly early, and without uh, all the best organization and standardization that they could have hoped for. So as the number of applications they offered out of the cloud continued to increase, and they'd gotten into the 60s or 70s, I think, before they found Alkira, uh, their ability to deploy new applications kept getting uh, harder. I'm sorry, it kept getting harder for them. Their ability became impaired by the complexity of what they had to do to get everything talking to what it needed to talk to, and doing it all manually. They wound up in two clouds, but only in one cloud region for both of those providers. And when they got Alkira in-house, it immediately speeded up their deployment of new cloud applications. And it immediately made it possible for them to expand from one region into two regions for reliability, for performance, and to further speed up application deployments. They ultimately wound up quadrupling the number of cloud environments they were running, basically one environment per application, or two environments redundantly for one application, and avoided 4 new hires specifically to do network management in their critical cloud networks. So these folks, I got to say, you can see all these wonderful reductions in key metrics that we were tracking: firewall count down by half, calendar time to add a new cloud environment down by 96%. I just wanted to say they didn't really see 100% reductions in staff time and calendar time for adding a new partner. It was 99.997 for one and 99.98 for the other, because they were going from a lot of days and a lot of process down to pushing a button and waiting a few minutes to an hour for everything to happen. So I think just some really dramatic improvements and fairly typical experiences at the same time. We also spoke with, in some detail, a financial services firm that wanted both to bring together the various cloud environments it was running to provide services to its globally placed staff of lawyers and their support teams, and to tie what it was doing in those cloud environments in more closely to what they were doing with their SD-WAN. So they brought Alkira in and saw, the usual kinds of decreases in staff time and calendar time, adding new cloud environments, and adding a new data center. And they avoided 3 new hires at the same time. Uh,
Yeah, so
and
John,
let,
many of our customers are deploying this use case. A lot of our customers are already SD-WAN customers, and now we can streamline all of this as far as the cloud is concerned, other use cases are concerned. Even in some cases, people can use us as a middle mile for SD-WAN deployments across the globe. So that's another use case. But primarily, it's streamlining the whole networking, centralizing or consolidating all the security and networking services inside of the CXPs, and that yields huge benefit for our customers, as this slide says over here.
Yep, one thing SD-WANs love is more high quality connectivity and alternate paths. So it's an obvious partnership kind of situation. The last case study we wanted to talk about is a large manufacturer that sells equipment, but also sells services on the equipment, including analytics and maintenance services based on data collected from the equipment. So it's crucial to them to maintain an active network connection to every piece of equipment that they deploy. They were doing this by manually creating an extranet physical network to every customer's site and managing it separately. They brought Alkira in 2019, and as you can see, experienced those 99% reductions in how many days it takes to deploy both a new cloud environment for the applications associated with a new piece of equipment and the extranet to each new customer. And for them, this was, life changing because it basically opened the floodgates for them to get more customer sites spun up. The cost of doing so, the marginal cost of adding a customer plummeted, and the number of days required to get a new customer in service plummeted. So for them, it was opening up a whole new set of opportunities for selling things to the customers who were interested in their services.
Yeah, this slide says it all by itself, John. So this
Um,
is huge value for our customers, right? So this is not this use case is very prevalent in all these manufacturing companies, financials. All of them have so many partners, and they do. This was such a big pain for these companies to onboard these partners and manage just the connectivity to these partners. So as I mentioned earlier, and I described it in some details earlier, this is a huge value for our customers that they get from deploying Alkira.
Absolutely. This was also the source of one of the most acerbic comments I remember getting in the course of the interviewing. The network architect there said, quote, Azure kept changing architectures and updating software on gateways without telling us. And on our third rebuild, after Azure yet again made a change, Alkira said, we can do that. And so they were able to basically outsource the complexity of dealing with the whims of Azure and the Microsoft milieu generally to you guys. So congratulations on that.
Thanks,
That's a burden a
thanks,
lot of
John. And
people like to have.
that customer, thanks, John. And that customer was a virtual WAN vWAN customer before, and they were having a lot of issues when they came to us, and they have deployed Alkira for I think they deployed it over 2 years ago, and migrated completely to Alkira. and they have been, as you can tell from the quotes that you received from them, that they are a very, very happy customer. They have been a reference customer as well. They're a huge advocate of Alkira, and again, they're seeing a lot of value. In fact, that customer grew from just a couple of, from a small amount a month for us from revenue perspective to it's one of our largest customers now. So just the value they received, they saw, they kept expanding, and that's usually in general what we see in most of the large enterprises who deploy us, that they start seeing so much value that they keep growing with us.
Absolutely. And people again and again talked about finding new things to do with you and expanding the way they were using you. So uh, that's all to the good. We had a question, and I will answer it now. It is, will this presentation be available for viewing at a later date? And the answer is yes. There will be replays of the webinar available, and I believe Alkira is planning on making the deck available as well. But if not, certainly the report upon which the deck is based is already available through the Alkira website, and has a lot more of those acerbic little quotes in it. So I highly recommend the report as well as the webinar. So wrapping up and still leaving a couple minutes for questions. What we saw in interviewing folks was that customers usually start with that core multi-cloud networking use case, find the value in making that more agile, more efficient, more secure, and more reliable, and along the way discover that they're able to make do with the staff that they have instead of having to hire more staff, able even to shift some networking staff attention away from the low-level mechanical details of doing the same thing in different environments to high-level things like setting policy across environments and ensuring proper service delivery. And in doing things, they found that they were also well positioned to make it faster and easier and safer to interconnect their own clouds with those of their partners, their service providers, and either the companies they were being bought by or the companies they were buying. One even did talk about making it easier to split off a company they were divesting themselves of, because they were able to first isolate all the parts of it and then gradually reduce the connectivity as the company spun up its own operations. So with that, we'll throw it open to any further questions. And then I guess we'll instead say thank you.
Actually, there are
And
questions in the
oh, please.
through, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read them out. So here's one. We are currently 100% Azure and on-prem. We may go multi-cloud at some point. How can I leverage the value of Alkira right away?
So I think that's a very good question. So we have many customers who are single cloud, just Azure customers. And the last case study which John was presenting, that is a 100% Azure customer. And they were leveraging virtual WAN also for their connectivity, and they migrated to Alkira. So we can help in many different ways. We can streamline your networking. We can consolidate networking services. We can all the value that which we presented in this slide deck. You can start seeing all of that. So absolutely, like we have many customers who are single cloud customers.
I'm going to, in the interest of time, and we can connect with folks afterwards too, but I'm going to go to the next question. Sounds like a great solution to reduce CapEx and OpEx for network infrastructure. Can the network as a service solution be implemented into legacy infrastructure as well as for architecting of new solutions?
I think absolutely. So all of our large enterprises, they have legacy infrastructure as well. So this is not like a greenfield deployment in many cases. So it's a brownfield deployment where your legacy network exists and it needs to coexist with your new net or with the Alkira. So every time we deploy Alkira, so it coexists with the network. So we have all the controls, all the functionality which is required to connect to your legacy network. We provide full routing controls, full routing protocol support, like full functionality, BGP, all of that stuff. So very comprehensive solution from that perspective. And yes, short answer is yes, absolutely.
And I'll
Great.
just throw in multiple people that we interviewed said that they were able to gradually migrate from their legacy stack into Alkira as a replacement for that legacy stack, sort of layer by layer or function by function. So it's even where you're dropping it into a legacy infrastructure, it's not a a forklift upgrade of everything that was there before. People are phasing it and phasing it successfully.
Okay, next question is, does Alkira align with ISO and SOC compliances?
Yes, we are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We have GDPR compliance, PCI compliance. So yes, we take that very seriously because it's as a service. So we have to be compliant with all this. And we can provide you more information if you need the reports as well as like other collateral.
Okay, we are out of time. There are a few other questions. I know if people are interested in staying on, I think we can just go a few more minutes with the questions, and then we'll conclude. You mentioned using Alkira as a backbone. Can it replace MPLS? Is another question.
We had people say that they were using it in preference to MPLS, and others say that they were gradually replacing MPLS connections they had with it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do one last question. That was, can you explain extranet as a service a bit more? I know you talked about it a little bit, but
Atif, I'll leave that one to you.
So extranet as a service is like this partner use case that we described. This is like when you have many external partners which need to connect to your network and access some resources from your network in a secure and reliable way. So we provide the infrastructure for customers to land onto. We provide the infrastructure as far as the security services or firewalls are concerned. And then we provide the connectivity to your, let's say, if your resources sitting in the data center, or if it's sitting in the cloud, it could be anywhere. So we provide that controlled connectivity, secure connectivity. And now, basically, what you can do is you can come over your partner can come over the internet into our CXP, which is our cloud exchange point, or your customer can come over private connectivity also. So it doesn't have to be public and internet connectivity. They could be coming in on private connectivity also, and we have mechanisms where we support that as well. So customer and the customer could be coming in from the cloud as well. So nowadays customers have these applications workloads sitting in the cloud which need access to your resources, and your resources could be anywhere as well. So it's all streamlined. It's as a service. We provide all the network address translation functionality. We provide all the policies management, traffic steering, all of that through the firewall. And again, your partner could be coming in from anywhere on any type of connectivity and could be accessing a resource which could be anywhere in your network in a secure fashion.
great. Thank you. Thank you, John and Atif. We're a little bit over time, but I think that was very helpful to answer those questions.
Well, it's been a
Thank
real
you,
pleasure.
and thank you, John. Thank you, John. Really
Thank you.
appreciate you and your team interviewing our customers and coming back with this such an invaluable report for us and our customers.
Always happy to talk to people who are happy with what they're doing.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.